My girlfriend took my dog while I was at work, so I got a lawyer. Took her to court and made sure she never saw him again. I'm a 28-year-old guy. I thought I had the perfect relationship. My girlfriend Sarah and I had been together for almost 2 years. Everything seemed right. My job was decent. We lived in a cozy apartment. And I had Max, my golden retriever, who was more than just a dog. He was my best friend, my companion through the ups and downs. I was the kind of guy who thought he had his life together. We had our routine work, dinner, Netflix, and a few drinks. Sarah and I were solid, or at least I thought we were. But one day, everything changed. I got home from work a little earlier than usual. The first thing I noticed when I opened the door was the silence. Normally, Max would be at the door wagging his tail, excited to see me. And Sarah would be sitting on the couch, scrolling on her phone. But today, there was nothing. No sound, no greeting. The apartment felt empty. I dropped my keys on the counter and called out, "Sarah," but there was no answer. My heart started to race as I walked through the rooms. That's when I saw the empty spot where Max's bed usually sat, the place he always curled up after I left for work. It was gone. His toys were gone. Her stuff was gone. The apartment felt cold and hollow. I rushed to her side of the closet. Clothes were missing. But the worst part, there was no note, no explanation. Just the remnants of what used to be her things, neatly packed away. My stomach twisted, the anger rising in my chest, but it was nothing compared to the shock of what came next. Max was gone. She took him. She took my dog. Without a word, I dialed her number, my hands shaking. It rang and rang. I left a voicemail. "Sarah, where are you? What's going on?" But no response. I stared at the empty space in the apartment, a pit forming in my stomach. How could she do this? How could she take him? My mind raced with questions, but none of them made any sense. I had to find her. I had to get Max back. I called her over and over again. At first, it was calm, just trying to make sense of it all. "Sarah, please pick up." "Where are you?" I left message after message, but each time, the voicemail cut me off. Panic started creeping in, my chest tightening with every unanswered ring. I couldn't breathe. I didn't understand. How could she just leave like that? Without a word, without a goodbye. And what about Max? My mind raced, running through all the things I thought I knew about our late-night talks. The plans we'd made, the life we'd built together. Was it all just a lie? I grabbed my jacket, left my apartment, and made my way to hers. When I arrived, my heart sank even deeper. Her car was gone, and the blinds in her window were shut tight. I knocked, the sound echoing in the silence. Nothing. I knocked again, harder, this time calling her name. No answer. I stood there, feeling stupid, feeling lost. My hand hovered over my phone, debating whether I should try calling again. But before I could, I saw a familiar face walking by. It was Jake, one of her friends from college. He saw me and paused. "Hey man, you okay?" he asked, eyes a little wide, like he wasn't sure how to act. "Where's Sarah?" I asked, barely able to keep my voice steady. Jake hesitated, looking down for a moment. "Look, man, I don't know how to say this, but she took Max. She left this morning. Didn't say anything. Just packed up and went." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Max ... My dog ... Gone. No warning. I asked, feeling the anger and disbelief rush through me. Jake looked at me with pity in his eyes. No text, nothing. I couldn't breathe. My mind couldn't process it. This wasn't just a breakup. This was betrayal. I didn't know what to do next. For the first few hours, I kept telling myself it was a mistake. Maybe she just needed some space. Maybe she was confused. I had to believe that, right? No one just up and leaves without a reason. Not after everything we'd shared. Not after all the plans we'd made. I kept my phone in my hand, staring at it, waiting for a response. I tried again, then again. My fingers trembled as I typed out another message. Sarah, please. Where are you? What happened? We need to talk. I'll come to you. Just let me see Max. Nothing, I called her. Once, twice. The voicemail picked up every time. The sound of her voice on the other end felt like a cruel joke. Hey, it's Sarah. I'm not available right now. Leave a message. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I left her a message anyway. This isn't right. I don't know what's going on, but I just want Max back. Please, I'll come pick him up. We can figure this out, but I need to see him. He's not just a dog, Sarah. He's family. Still nothing. I tried reaching out to her friends. Anyone who might have known where she went or what was going on. But no one had answers. All I got were vague responses and empty apologies. It was then that I started to feel the crushing realization that she had no intention of returning Max. She wasn't coming back. This wasn't a fight. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a choice. She chose to walk away. And she chose to take my dog with her. I stood there, staring at my phone, my heart sinking lower with every unanswered call. I couldn't do this anymore. I couldn't just sit back and beg for answers while she played me like a fool. Every call, every message I sent felt like a stab to the chest. The pain was real, and every minute without Max was unbearable. I had to do something. I had to make her listen. I called her again, and this time I didn't hold back. I wasn't going to beg anymore. Sarah, enough. You need to return Max. This isn't funny. He's not just your dog, he's mine too. And you can't just take him from me like this. There was a long pause on the other end of the line before she finally responded. And her voice was so cold it made my blood run hot. Max is my dog now, she said, as if it was the most casual thing in the world. I don't know what you thought this was, but he's better off with me. He's happy here. My chest tightened as I tried to process what she was saying. What the hell are you talking about? He's my dog. You can't just take him. I don't care what you say, want him back. She laughed then. It wasn't a comforting laugh or a nervous laugh. It was a cruel, mocking laugh. Well, he's not coming back. You're just going to have to deal with it. And then, to top it all off, she sent me a picture. Max, lying on her bed, completely oblivious to the chaos he was now caught in. He looked so peaceful, so content, as if nothing was wrong. And beneath it, she wrote, "Look how happy he is. He's mine now." That was it. The last shred of doubt in my mind vanished. She wasn't just playing games anymore. She was enjoying this. Enjoying the fact that she had taken something I loved, something that meant the world to me. I couldn't keep doing this. She had crossed a line. And I was done. I had reached my breaking point. I was done begging, done pleading, done hoping for some kind of reasonable explanation. If she wasn't going to give me Max back willingly, then I was going to make her. I wasn't just going to let her take everything from my dog, my trust, my peace, and walk away with no consequences. I called a lawyer. The decision didn't come easily. I knew it would be messy, expensive, and emotionally draining. But it was the only way to make sure this didn't end with me just quietly accepting the loss. I had to fight for what was mine. Max was mine, and I wasn't going to let her manipulate the situation anymore. The lawyer I spoke to was patient, but realistic. She listened to my story, nodded as I explained everything that had happened, and then started asking for evidence. Texts, photos, anything. That proved Max was my dog and that Sarah had no right. To take him, I gathered everything. I could find our old texts where Sarah had talked about how much she loved Max, pictures of us together, and even a witness. A neighbor who had seen her take Max from my apartment and drive off with him that morning. That was the moment it all clicked. I wasn't just a guy hoping for a miracle anymore. I was taking action. I filed for custody. I knew it would be a long shot, but I wasn't just going to lie down and take it. I had made up my mind. I was fighting for Max, and I wasn't stopping until I had him back. The next few days felt like a blur of paperwork, phone calls, and a growing sense of determination. I wasn't the victim anymore. I was a fighter, and I was going to win this, but I knew this was just the beginning. The legal battle dragged on, and with every passing day, it felt like I was drowning. The emails, the phone calls, the constant back and forth with the lawyer was all-consuming. It was supposed to be about getting Max back, but in reality, it felt like the weight of it all was crushing me. Every moment of my day was spent either thinking about the case or trying to shut it out, and I couldn't seem to escape it. At work, I was a shell of myself. I tried to focus, but my mind kept drifting back to Max, wondering if he was okay, wondering if he was missing me as much as I missed him. I'd zone out in meetings, staring at the clock, counting the hours until I could escape back to my empty apartment. People at work started to notice. "Hey, you okay?" They'd ask, but it was always a surface-level question, and I knew they didn't really care. I didn't want to talk about it. How could I explain that I was fighting for my dog, my best friend, when they didn't even understand what that meant? Even my friends and family didn't get it. They'd say things like, "It's just a dog, man," or "You'll get over it." It's not worth losing your mind over. They didn't understand. They didn't know what it was like to have Max there for me. Through the lonely nights, the rough days, he wasn't just a dog. He was family, but no one saw that. They just saw the stress eating me alive, the constant emotional roller coaster, and the growing distance between me and everything I used to care about. I couldn't explain it, not to anyone. All I knew was I was losing myself in this fight, and I wasn't sure how much longer I could keep going. The situation took a dark turn I never expected. I was in the middle of one of the most important meetings with my lawyer when I first heard about it. My phone buzzed on the table, and I glanced at the screen. It was a text from her, a message that sent a chill through my body. "You're a neglectful owner. Max is better off with me. He's happier here. I'm filing for full custody, and I won't let you hurt him again." My heart dropped into my stomach. I stared at the words, my mind struggling to process what they meant. She had accused me of abusing Max, neglecting him. My loyal dog, the one who had been by my side through every dark moment, was now being used as a pawn in her twisted game. I felt the world shift beneath me. How could she do this? How could she turn the love I had for Max into something toxic, something I never imagined possible? It was one thing to take him from me, but to accuse me of being an unfit owner. That was a betrayal so deep I could barely breathe. But instead of crumbling, something inside me snapped. I wasn't going to let her get away with this. I had done everything for Max, fed him, played with him, cared for him every single day. And now, she was trying to turn the world against me. I wasn't going to let that happen. This was no longer just about getting my dog back. It was about clearing my name and making sure she knew that she couldn't break me like this. I had to fight. I had to expose her for what she was. No more playing nice. This had become personal. I wasn't losing Max. Not like this. Not after everything. There were days when it felt like I was barely holding on. The court case was dragging on, week after week, and every day I woke up to the same sinking feeling in my chest. The legal back and forth was exhausting, and the constant stress was wearing me down in ways I didn't even understand. The hours felt longer, the weight heavier, and the emptiness of my apartment grew more suffocating with every passing day. The worst part wasn't the legal battle. It wasn't even Sarah's false accusations. It was the isolation. No one understood why I couldn't just let it go. Why I couldn't stop fighting for Max. My friends were tired of hearing about it. My family kept telling me to move on, to let it go. They didn't get it. How could they? Max wasn't just a dog. He was the one constant, the one thing I could always count on. But every time I thought about him, I felt like I was losing him all over again. I started doubting myself. I didn't know if I had the strength to keep fighting. What if I was just chasing something that was already gone? What if she was right that I was an unfit owner, that Max was better off without me? The thought crushed me. The guilt, the splout, the constant barrage of accusations and rejection, it was like a storm I couldn't escape. One night, after another long day in court, I sat in my apartment, staring at the empty space where Max's bed used to be. His toys were still scattered around, untouched. The silence was deafening. I let myself break for the first time. I sank to the floor, buried my face in my hands, and just cried. I didn't know if I could keep doing this. I didn't know if I could win this battle. And I wasn't sure I could survive the pain of losing him forever. I had reached rock bottom, and I didn't know how much further I could fall. You said it was hard to shake the feeling that I was losing control. The case was slipping through my fingers, and the weight of everything, the stress, the isolation, the constant fear of losing Max was eating away at me. But I couldn't let it end like this. I couldn't let Sarah win. Not when I knew I had the right to keep fighting. One night, after another crushing day in court, I sat in front of my computer, staring at the screen, willing myself to focus. I knew there had to be something, anything that could turn this around. The evidence I had so far wasn't enough. There had to be more. Something concrete, something undeniable. I just needed to find it. I started digging deeper. I went through every text message, every email, every single detail. Nothing. Then I remembered something I had almost forgotten. The security footage from her building. I knew the doorman had cameras, and I had heard a few things about how the building's security system worked. If I could get access to it, maybe, just maybe, I could find something that could prove she had taken Max from me. I contacted the building management, told them about the situation, and pleaded for help. At first, they hesitated. But after some persuasion, they agreed to give me access to the footage, seeing how desperate I was. I couldn't believe it when they sent me the file. I watched, heart pounding, as the footage played. There she was, Sarah, walking out of my apartment, Max trailing behind her. The timestamp was clear. It was the middle of the night. She had taken him. No doubt about it. That was it. The smoking gun. I sat back in my chair, staring at the screen. A rush of hope flooded through me, stronger than I'd felt in weeks. I had the evidence I needed. This was my chance. For the first time in so long, I felt like I was finally on the winning side. Finally, the day arrived. The day I had been waiting for, dreading, and fighting for. I stood outside the courtroom, feeling the weight of everything pressing down on me. The past few months had been a blur of anxiety, confusion, and relentless legal battles. But now, it was all coming to a head. Today would determine everything, whether I'd get Max back or whether I'd be forced to live with the gut-wrenching reality that he was gone for good. Sarah walked in beside her lawyer. Her eyes cold, her expression hard as ever. She didn't even look at me. The same woman who had been the center of my life for 2 years now seemed like a stranger. And that's when it hit me. I wasn't fighting for her anymore. I was fighting for my dog. The courtroom was tense. The judge listened to both sides, but I could feel that the momentum was shifting in my favor. When it was my turn, I stood up, heart racing, and walked to the front. I presented the security footage, my hands slightly trembling, but my voice steady. I could see the judge's eyes widen as he watched Saramai's ex-girlfriend take Max from my apartment in the middle of the night. Her defense crumbled almost immediately. The accusations she had made against me of neglect and abuse suddenly seemed baseless. Nothing more than lies to cover her own tracks. She had no evidence to back her claims. No witnesses, nothing. The judge looked at me, then at her, his expression hardening as he delivered his verdict. The evidence is clear. Max belongs with you. You have proven your case. The words hit me like a wave of relief. Max was coming home. I didn't even care about the rest of the courtroom, the murmurs, or the awkward silence. I just stood there, my chest swelling with a feeling I hadn't felt in months' peace. The fight was over, and I had won. The moment I walked into the animal shelter, I felt a mixture of nerves and excitement that I could barely contain. I had been here before, just a few days ago, to sign the paperwork and make the final arrangements for Max's return. But this time was different. This time, I wasn't just picking him up, I was reclaiming a part of myself that had been missing for far too long. The shelter worker led me to the back. And as we walked down the hallway, I could hear the faint sounds of dogs barking in the distance. My heart started to race. Then, as I rounded the corner, I saw him, Max. He was sitting in a small pen, looking up at me with those big, familiar eyes. For a moment, I just stood there, frozen. His fur was a little matted, and he looked thinner than I remembered. But there he was alive, safe, and waiting for me. Max. I whispered, my voice catching in my throat. He stood up immediately, his tail wagging like crazy. Before I could take another step, he bolted towards me, and I dropped to my knees just in time to catch him. He jumped into my arms, covering my face with wet, slobbery kisses. And I laughed through the tears. In that moment, everything I had been through, the endless nights of anxiety, the pain of loss, the stress of the battle, it all faded away. It was worth it. This wasn't just about a dog. It was about standing up for what's mine. It was about fighting for the ones I love and protecting them. No matter what, I held him tight, feeling like I was whole again. The fight was over, and Max was home. Nothing else mattered. Looking back on everything, I can't believe how much I've grown. That whole experience, losing Max, fighting for him, and everything that came with it, changed me in ways I never expected. At the time, it felt like I was just trying to survive. But now, I see that I was learning something deeper, something important about myself. The most valuable lesson I've taken away from this is how to stand up for myself. I used to just accept things as they came, to let people walk all over me. But fighting for Max taught me that I have the right to defend what's mine, to fight for what I believe in. I've learned how to value my relationships, how to not let someone else's actions dictate my worth. But there was also something else I learned, that sometimes the hardest thing to do is let go. Letting go of the person I thought I loved wasn't easy, and for a long time I felt like I was losing myself in the process. But when I look at Max now, sleeping beside me on the couch, I realize that I didn't lose anything. I gained everything. I gained the strength to move on and the clarity to see what truly mattered. I'm in a better place now. Max is right here with me, and that's all that matters. He's not just my dog, he's my reminder that I can fight for what I love and protect what's important to me. Some battles are hard, and some leave scars that take time to heal. But winning them feels like freedom. And for the first time in a long time, I feel free. I'm stronger now, more independent, and more certain of who I am. The fight is over. And I won.